Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this week's video. This is going to be a kind of what if video. You know, what if you had your own production company, your own anime studio? What kind of anime would you like to produce? So that's the theme we're going to go with this week, and I'm going to talk about the 4 types of anime that I think I would like my studio to make. So I think one of the anime that I would like to do for my studio to do is one that's going to be a reboot. I would like to reboot an old anime from the 1960s, from the early days of anime. And it's one of those anime that actually came across to America from Japan. And I did a little video about it. The link will be down below. And it is a reboot of Marine Boy. So if you want to know more about Marine Boy, click the link down below, check it out, see the history behind it. But basically, to give it to you in a nutshell, it's this kid who has certain underwater abilities, and he wears an armored suit that enhances those abilities. And the thing that a lot of people remember the most is the fact that he has bubblegum that he chews that allows him to bring in oxygen from the water so he can breathe underwater. And the anime was very episodic, and it was kind of like, here's the plot to overthrow the governments of the world using the sea this week. So that was kind of the bent of it. Again, late 60s, early 70s, came over in the 70s. If you were watching Speed Racer back in that time period, like me, I'm kind of old, got my walker over there. This was probably one of the anime, along with Speed Racer, Kimba the White Lion, that you watched. So I would like to do a reboot of that. So yes, certainly for a nostalgic factor, you know, there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, I remember that, or people saying, I've heard people talk about that. And so I think it would be something interesting with the technology of today to bump those stories up a little bit, or the animation up, and take a unique concept and give it new life. So there's that, but there's also another reason why. This is about the ocean, about maintaining the security of the ocean, the health of the ocean. A lot of the episodes deals with those kinds of issues, but in a very, dumbed down way so that kids can get it. I would like the reboot to be a little bit more, adultish, teenagers, young adult kind of a thing going on, and talk more to the point of ecology and environmentalism, particularly with our oceans, because that's kind of the lifeblood of the planet a little bit, and we're not treating it very well. So I would like to, make an anime, reboot an anime of this nature, Marine Boy, and just kind of get the message out, so to speak. So this is kind of, the PSA anime that I would like to make with my imaginary anime studio. So another anime that I would like to do, it's sort of in the vein of quiet anime or healing anime. I don't know if a healing would be so much of a part of it, but certainly it would be a quiet anime. And it was something that I was talking to Brent over at Anime Archaeology on stream the other night, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. Van life, and van life has gotten popular over the past few years, and it's something that you can see on YouTube a lot of people are doing it. I watched for a long time Kara and Nate. They were actually, prior to COVID, they were traveling around the world, and they just didn't have a place to call home just because they didn't want to. They wanted to travel the world. And then COVID hit. They're like, well, what do we do? We're kind of limited to the United States. So they did van life, and they drove around in a van. And it was very, very interesting. And conceptually, it's just kind of a neat idea. People who enjoy it enjoy the travel aspect of it, the engineering aspect of how you have to kit out your van and things like that. So it's just kind of an interesting concept. And we were talking about it the other night, and I was like, wouldn't that be great? A great anime, a nice, quiet anime about van life in Japan. It would be a slice of life anime, and it would probably be geared towards an older anime watching set. A lot of us watch Eurocamp, and really that's the characters in that are kind of much younger, obviously, than me. But the van life anime would be having characters that were more along the lines of they're already in their 20s, and possibly older, and kind of that community, and exploring that community and exploring how people get into it and where do they go. And one of the interesting things about Japan that we're finding about in terms of van life is that the Japanese appear to be very receptive to this idea, this concept, and they have a positive curiosity about van life. So like if you were to do van life in Japan and you were to roll up in your van, people wouldn't be like, oh, you can't park there. They'd be more like along the lines of like, so you do van life, right? Okay, so can we take a look at things? And this kind of seems a little bit interesting to do the thing that you want to do. So there's, generally speaking, a positive outlook at van life. It's not looked down upon. It's not frowned upon. It's kind of just like, oh, that's kind of interesting, as a national attitude. And also Japan, as Japanese van life bloggers point out, Japan is actually really suited for van life. The roads are nice. Infrastructure is better kept than like, say, in some places here in America. People are, like I said, more willing to, deal with you as a van lifer. Like, maybe somebody might go, oh, do you need to use my driveway for overnight? Yeah, go ahead. That kind of a thing, and that kind of attitude, and the idea that probably some of these places that want tourism will probably go, oh, van lifers, maybe we should make like a dirt parking lot over here and maybe kit it out with some like, electrical stuff so that people can recharge their things and do things, and that way they come in and they give us money for tourism. So they're very open to the idea of, also the idea of like, the vending machine culture, like, roadside vending machines. Like you'll have like arbitrarily like 5 vending machines. So if you're thirsty, you can just pull over, plunk your coins in and get what you need. So I would love to make an anime that was about that. Just something, like maybe a small group of people, 20-somethings, going, maybe they're dissatisfied with their jobs, or they just need the time to get out there, so to speak, and see the world. And so maybe it's like 2 or 3 different vans in a caravan going across Japan and the various places they go and meet, and things that they do, how they maintain their vans, and where they want to go, and how do they generate the money to keep their trip going, that kind of stuff. I think that would be a really, really interesting anime to watch. Certainly a quiet anime, something you can sit back and relax and enjoy, and the big drama being, where can I go pee? My toilet's broken in my van. That would be the big drama, right? So anyway, there's a thought. Maybe someday we'll get a van life anime. So the next anime I would like my non-existent studio to produce would be oddly enough, a sports anime. For those of you who are familiar with the channel or Anime Archaeology, I'm not a big sports anime fan. I really don't get into it that much. It's very tropey to me. The whole, do they get to nationals? What's the big drama that brings the player back? Or all that kind of stuff. I really kind of don't care about that. But I was in my wanderings on YouTube again, kind of visiting channels that I know and like, and one of them is Ginger Gaiden, and I'll put a link down to her channel down below. Please give her channel some love. She makes these amazingly beautiful videos about living in Japan, and the scenic ones are just gorgeous, and she's funny, and she brings up a lot of good points and stuff. So please watch her channel. But anyway, she was in one of her many travels along Japan and taking video of it. One of the things that she came across was a center or training center for the Japanese national curling team. Right? Okay, curling. It's the thing with the big rock with the handle, and people doing the thing with the brushes, and you have to click rocks and knock things out of the way. It's kind of like bocce on ice, and bocce balls on ice, and people are not really familiar with what the rules are. It's kind of like cricket, but worldwide there's this fascination with curling, and it's been evolving for I would say the past 20 years. Personally, myself, I love the Olympics. I really, really enjoy the Olympics. I'm always sad when I don't get my fill of Olympic watching. But I do prefer Winter Olympics over Summer Olympics, if I had to choose. And curling is something over the last, I would say, 3 Winter Olympics that I've been steadily getting more and more into. I find it very interesting. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of people find it interesting is that of all the winter sports, that is probably the one that is most accessible to a lot of people of differing athletic ability. I mean, obviously you have to have athletic ability to do this game well and to reach to Olympic, competition. But still, it seems like it's something where, you don't have to give up your life, your job, and all that to train, 25 hours in a 24-hour day, you know what I mean? And, but it seems like it's fun. Like, it's actually genuinely fun. And so there's this worldwide fascination with curling, low-level, fascination with curling. And I knew Japan had a team, but I never really focused on them. So when Ginger Gaiden had that video, and I saw that training center, the outside of it with the little statues of the curling stuff, and it's just kind of like, wouldn't it be neat to have a sports anime about curling? I would watch that. I would even deal with the tropes, I think. But it would be an interesting anime, and maybe not be tropey about it, but just say, here's a totally non-Japanese sport that Japanese want to do. I think that's a really interesting way to go about an sports anime series, which is, this is not something that the Japanese came up with. This is not something that they would be inclined to do, but they seem interested in it. So why not make an anime about that? I would totally watch that anime. So this last type of anime that I would like my imaginary anime studio to do, I would even pour all the energy into this one particular anime if I couldn't do the others. Like if I had to choose one, this would be it. And it's kind of inspired by Kids on the Slope. The guy who did Cowboy Bebop and Yoko Kanno did the music to it. By the way, watch it. Wonderful anime. Soundtrack is amazing. It's got, good old jazz stuff. And of course, it's Yoko Kanno. She's a goddess. So, there you go. Win-win, right? But watch Kids on the Slope. So this anime is definitely inspired. The idea of it is inspired by Kids on the Slope, which is basically about kids living in this part of Japan, and they come together because they are finding jazz music and they're finding interest in it, and they're finding how that impacts their lives, and how their life is melding into the music, and the music is melding into their life. It's a beautiful little anime, and I don't think it gets enough credit. Like I said, watch it. But my anime would not be about jazz. It would be basically Kids on the Slope, but it would be basically Tokyo, Japan, or Kyoto or Tokyo, Japan, and the punk scene from 1979 to 1989. So a 10-year period, slice of life about Japanese punk music, and how the reasons why the disaffected youth who got into that movement did. Why this music? Why this particular music? Why are you disaffected? Why are you angry? Where's this energy coming from? Why do you want to do this? And so, maybe follow a group of guys or gals who want to make a punk band, or maybe a fan following a punk band, or a combination thereof. Because the Japanese punk scene is very interesting, but it's like all the other punk scenes in the world, which is a reaction to stuff that's going on in the world that is not good. So you feel disaffected and you feel powerless, and punk kind of plays into that and says you're not powerless, but you do have to do more than what you're doing now if you want things to change. You're going to have to get in people's faces, you're going to have to scream, you're going to have to move, you're going to have to do things. Passive protest doesn't work. That's the idea of punk. You have to be up there, fists in the air, so to speak. So, like, for Americans in that time period between 79 and 89, that would definitely be in reaction to the administration, Ronald Reagan's administration, where he did a lot of not very good things. And there was a society in America at that time was very stagnant, and it was very look down at your nose at a lot of people. Same thing in Britain in the mid to late 70s, early 80s, same idea. In Japan, same thing. They're just rebelling against society and things of just saying, I'm a person, you have to deal with me, and you can't just ignore me. And that's what punk is about. And it feels like that I'm kind of like preaching to you a little bit. It's because I am, because in the 80s, that's what I did. I was into punk, and I went to the shows, and that's how I felt, and that's what I did to affect change. Yes, some of you might know that I was in a band at one point in time, and we're just going to leave it at that. Okay. But, so I would love to make an anime about all of that slice of life of stuff that really happened in Tokyo, maybe, or Kyoto, 79 to 1989, that period of time of punk music, and people who lived in it, who performed it, that kind of thing. I've talked about Japanese punk before, Nurse, Gizm. I was watching a thing about noise punk and a band called Hantarashi, who actually brought a steam shovel to one of their shows and completely demolished the venue after they were chasing around people with this construction equipment. It happened. There's proof that it happened. There's actual photographic proof of it. But anyway, I would like to make that anime and just kind of just throw that out there and just say, hey, this happened and this is why. And it's really, really just sonically interesting, visually interesting. I don't know that if it would be something up Yoko Kanno's alley. I think this would be something more along the lines where I would have to, really put together a slapping soundtrack for this anime. So that would definitely be where some of the money would go. Right? So anyway, yeah, why not? It's about punk, and punk is life. So there you go. Okay, so if I had my imaginary Unagi anime studio, I guess that's what I'm calling it, even though it doesn't exist, those would be the 4 kinds of anime that I would like to do. How about you? What would you like to do? What if you had the ability and the budget to make 4 anime, or maybe you might want to throw all that money to one really good anime? What would you like to do? Put your comments down below. Don't forget to visit Ginger Gaiden and some of the other stuff down there that I'll have links to. So that's it for this week. We got a couple more, 2-3 more, I think, before the end of the season. And just as a gentle reminder, once the end of the year happens, I go on semi-hiatus, and I put up, just a little couple 2-3 minute videos once a week, and until we start the new season again. But we still got some full episodes coming up for this season, so keep coming back. And to that point, please stay safe. Please do what you need to do to stay healthy. There's some nasty stuff going on still out there, which kind of sucks, but we have the means to deal with it, so please do, because I love you guys and I would like to see you sometime in the future. Okay, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.